Hi there. Okay. Today I wanted to speak about software engineering occupations, or I'd say levels, whichever you prefer. It's fine by me. So you can have a software engineering intern, you can have a junior software engineer, you can have an intermediate software engineer, you can have a senior software engineer, you can also have a staff software engineer. You can also have a principal software engineer, which is the level that I aspire to have one day, currently, 2026. Anyways, cool. So, what is the difference between these individuals? Of course, it makes sense that it's the level of skill and the value, but that translates to the company, which is okay, which you must have as an individual. Cool. But as an individual, from a personal level, what is the difference between all these six individuals that I've highlighted? It is the mindset. Because you're a problem solver first. As a software engineer, the reason why you would call yourself a software engineer is because you can solve problems or you can provide solutions to a problem that is already there. That is why before you even build an app or build whatever it is that you're building, you have identified a problem, and then with whatever it is that you're building, you will be in the position where you are solving or addressing that problem, right? So the only way you can solve a problem, it calls for you to think. And how do you think? Because of your mindset. Because you teach yourself or you teach your mind how to think, and that becomes a mindset, right? So, how you go about solving those problems, that's entirely up to you as to how you engage your thought patterns and all that. So, okay, let me get into it now. I think I've tracked this video too long. So, now, what is the difference between these six individuals, of course? An intern will say, I've come here to learn. That's the mindset. The mindset is iti. I've come here to learn. The junior dev will say, tell me what to do and I'll do it. That is a junior dev. An intermediate dev will say, okay, I've seen the problem. You have also seen the problem. We have all seen the problem, but I will figure this out as to how I solve this issue. That's an intermediate dev, right? And then when it comes to a senior dev will say, okay, I've identified the problem, you have identified the problem, we've all identified the problem, but I have a couple of solutions. There's so many solutions that can address this problem, but what is the best solution? So the senior dev oversees, or I'd say supersedes. English is tough. Supersedes whatever it is that the intern and junior dev and intermediate dev are thinking about. The senior dev is looking at so many alternatives, but it is simply going to choose the best out of the many that can address that problem. That is a senior dev, right? Then comes a staff engineer. What is a staff engineer? Um, the staff engineer will think about the impact that the solutions or the best solution that can solve the problem can have on the platform and on the team, right? That's the staff engineer. And then the principal engineer will think, so out of all these, okay, if this is the best solution that we have, right? They will then study that and think, in the next 2 to 5 years, by implementing this solution, since it is the best, what will break in the next the next 5 years? They think long term. So what it means is that the principal software engineer, after having taken that best solution, they will think about time in terms of time. the durability of the solution that they've chosen, in the sense that, okay, for example, I'm not saying that's what it is. For example, if they say, okay, if I use a for loop there, what will break in the platform in the next 2 to 5 years? Let's say, should those requests be 10K, for example, who knows? What effect will that do to the querying, to the DB, and blah, I'm just making an example. But the idea is, the principal software engineer will look at the solution and think in terms of time. How durable is the solution? Yet the staff software engineer will look at the impact of the solution on the platform and on the team developing that solution on that platform. And then when it comes to a senior dev, they will look at, which is the best solution, and implement the best solution. But when it comes to an intermediate dev will think, I'll figure out the best solution. They go hunting for the best solution that the senior dev already knows out of the array that they can come up with, because the senior dev will select the best solution out of the many. Yet the intermediate dev still has to learn still has to learn in terms of searching for solutions or many solutions. They still haven't figured out which is the best. They have to implement it. They don't have the experience of implementing the best solution. They are still in the process of picking solutions and implementing them. Then they discover that, this thing doesn't work. And then experience teaches them that, whenever you're in certain scenarios or circumstances of a certain nature, they'll be like, no. Next time, now I know. That, no. That's an intermediate dev, right? They're still figuring out the solutions. And then when it comes to a junior dev, as I said, is waiting for instruction to act. They do have some bit of knowledge here and there, but they're waiting for instruction to act. But an intern is simply here to learn. You don't know, I wouldn't say you don't know anything, but you have a learning mindset. But the long and short of it, the reason why I made this video is that when you're a software engineer, you carry an intern's mind, in the sense that you are willing to learn regardless of what you know. Because when you have a teachable mind, as much as you will be cruising through your career, there are certain things that you know, there's certain things that you've experienced, so you acquire the knowledge and the skills over the years. But don't be too proud to learn, because a mind that is not willing to learn is not a teachable mind. And you will get to a level where, let's say, you become an intermediate dev or a senior dev, and if you do not have a teachable mind, how will you progress to being a software engineer or principal software engineer? Think about that. I'll see you on the flip side.